be dealing about urinary bladder anatomy and physiology of micturition today. So what is physiological anatomy? The bladder is a smooth muscle chamber which is composed of mainly two parts, the body and bladder neck. The body is the major part of bladder which stores urine, and the neck is a funnel shaped extension of the body which goes infro-anteriorly into the urogenital triangle, which we have seen in the previous class in that RGU images, urogenital diaphragm. It goes infro-anteriorly and connect with the posterior urethra. So lower part of bladder neck is continuous with posterior urethra. So as you can see in this diagram, the body, this is the body, this is ureteric orifices right and left, and the part between the interureteric orifice, interureteric ridge and the neck is called as bladder trigone and bladder neck, and which continue as posterior urethra, and then at the bulbomembranous junction there will be external sphincter. So what are the structure of bladder? It is composed of three layers. There will be outer serous layer, then thick smooth muscle and inner mucous membrane. So smooth muscle of bladder is also called as detrusor muscle, which are arranged in circular, horizontal and spiral fashion, and they extend in all directions. The contraction of detrusor smooth muscle can increase the pressure of bladder up to 40 to 60 mm of Hg, which is a major step in emptying of the bladder. So how they generate this much pressure? They fuse with each other so that low resistance electrical pathway exists, and an action potential can spread through the detrusor from one muscle to the next, causing contraction of bladder. When the bladder is empty, the most part is covered by mucosa, which shows irregular folds because the mucosa is attached loosely, except in the posterior wall where that small triangular area called trigone, where mucosa is smooth due to firm attachment. Only the trigonal area will be smooth because of firm attachment. The rest of the mucosa will be irregular folds because of loose attachments. So about mucous membrane, it is lined by transitional epithelium. As you know, bladder, ureter and renal pelvis, they are all lined by transitional epithelium, which this transitional epithelium stretches on distension of bladder. It forms a barrier to the passage of fluid and electrolyte across, and it contains a special cerebroside which is chemically related to sphingomyelin to prevent bacterial adherence and infection. So until unless there is a breach or other reasons like foreign body or any trauma to bladder or catheter induced trauma, this cerebroside will prevent bacterial adherence. Whenever there is a breach in the mucosa, there will be bacterial adherence and infection. So about urethra, male urethra is average male urethra is 20 centimeter long, but it consists of penile urethra, bulbar urethra, membranous urethra and prostatic urethra, while female urethra is short, it is around 4 centimeter long. So there are two sphincters, one is internal, one is external. Internal sphincter is near bladder neck, circular smooth muscle in the area of neck. हाँ मैं ले रहा हूँ ना, हाँ हाँ ठीक. So internal sphincter, circular smooth muscle fibers in the area of neck, which is thickened to form sphincter vesicae, which is called as internal sphincter, while external sphincter is in the urethra surrounded by a ring of skeletal muscle to form sphincter. So as we have seen in this diagram, bladder neck forms the internal sphincter and the skeletal muscle forming external sphincter. And you can see the innervations which will be telling you later. Just go through here. So what are the functions of sphincter? There will be internal sphincter and external sphincter. Internal sphincter is a natural tone which keeps the bladder, neck and posterior urethra empty of urine, while external sphincter provides voluntary control over mixture because it consists of skeletal muscle. So So it provides voluntary control over micturition. So what are the nerve supplies of bladder? So there will be efferent, afferent nerve. Efferent nerve, sympathetic, parasympathetic and somatic, and afferent nerve. So sympathetic, as you can see, L2, 3, 4, this supplies the body and trigone. Parasympathetic, S2, 3, 4, body and the posterior urethra, and S2, 3, pudendal nerve, which supplies the pudendal, S2, 3, which supplies the external sphincter. Parasympathetic, the bladder neck, posterior urethra and fundus or body of bladder, and sympathetic into body and trigone. So sympathetic arise from L1 segment of spinal cord, and presynaptic fiber descend down to the lateral sympathetic chain, celiac and supramesenteric ganglia. Then they form a presacral nerves in front of sacrum, presacral, which divides into two hypogastric nerve to end in ganglia. So two hypogastric nerve which end in ganglia, and the postganglionic fiber from here supply the bladder. So which are the parts innervated by sympathetic? As I told, body, trigone and bladder neck or internal sphincter. What is the effect of stimulation? Relaxation. Once the sympathetic fibers get stimulated, detrusor gets relaxed and contraction of trigone and internal sphincter, resulting in retention of urine. While parasympathetic preganglionic in S2, 3, 4, and they pass in the pelvic nerve, nervi erigentis, to end in hypogastric ganglion, and then subsequently from there they innervate the bladder. So this also supplies body, trigone and internal sphincter. What is the action when parasympathetic gets stimulated? It's contraction of detrusor and relaxation of internal sphincter, resulting in emptying of bladder. So sympathetic stimulation will keep the urine retained, while parasympathetic stimulation will help in emptying of the bladder. Parasympathetic emptying, remember this. So somatic now S2, 3, 4 through pudendal. It supplies external sphincter and posterior or prostatic urethra. So the parts innervated are under higher control, therefore are voluntarily relaxed at micturition. So this supplies the voluntary action, voluntary inhibition or voiding. Afferent supplies sensation of bladder distension from detrusor. That once detrusor gets stretched into filling, the stretch receptors get activated. They travel to spinal cord via pelvic nerves, and from bladder, neck and trigone, afferent travel via hypogastric plexus. So in spinal cord, fibers of awareness of distension runs in fasciculus gracialis, reach spinal pontine and suprapontine micturition center. Micturition center is situated in suprapontine and pontine region. So pain fibers by excessive distension or spasm or presence of stone or inflammation or irritation runs in hypogastric plexus. In the spinal cord they run in the lateral spinothalamic tract. So what is the physiology of micturition? There are two main processes of micturition: filling of bladder, emptying of bladder. So filling of bladder is collected in renal pelvis, and subsequently there will be increased pressure, and which will subsequently initiate a peristaltic contraction in pelvis ureter to push the urine into the urinary bladder. So the peristaltic waves, they travel at velocity of 2 to 3 centimeter per second from every 2 to 3 minutes. Every 2 to 3 minutes there will be peristaltic wave which will travel at velocity of 2 to 3 centimeter per second. So this wave can move urine against an obstruction. If there is small obstruction, still this wave, peristaltic wave, can move urine in the ureter with a pressure as high as 25 to 50 mm of mercury. So volume and pressure changes in bladder during filling is very important clinically, because it tells you the bladder pressures, detrusor pressures. So whenever a patient of neurogenic bladder or traumatic paraplegia which has bladder symptoms and you need treatment for them, so volume and pressure changes are very important. So which can be measured, called as cystometry, and you can get obtain a graph. So cystometry or urodynamic study is the one method to get the bladder pressures. So don't go into details of the phases of cystometrogram. Emptying of bladder, how bladder empties, this focuses on, one is micturition reflex, voluntary control of micturition, and role of abdominal and perineal muscles in micturition. What is micturition? Is process by which bladder empties when filled. So micturition is bladder defined as micturition is the process by which bladder empties when it is filled. So it can consist of three main components: micturition reflex, voluntary control of micturition, and role of perineal and abdominal muscles in micturition. So how micturition reflex get initiated? By stimulation of stretch receptor, detrusor stretch receptors in the bladder wall. When the bladder fills, the detrusor gets stretched and stretch receptor initiates the micturition reflex. So how much filling is required? In normal adult, 300 to 400 ml of urine will stimulate the micturition reflex, while the first urge to micturate, like around 150 ml, once your bladder is full, you will have first urge to pass urine, but that can be suppressed voluntarily. So afferent of stretch receptor, as I told you, in the detrusor and urethra travel along the pelvic nerve and enter into S234 segment to reach sacral micturition centers. Efferent arises from sacral detrusor nucleus or preganglionic parasympathetic. As we discussed before, parasympathetic helps in emptying of the bladder, which relay in the ganglia near or within the bladder and urethra, and then postganglionic parasympathetic excitative detrusor and inhibitory to internal sphincter. So detrusor will contract and internal sphincter will relax, so micturition will be facilitated. So once micturition reflex initiates, it is self-regenerative. Initial contraction further activates the receptor to increase sensory impulse from bladder wall, to increase the reflex contraction of detrusor. The cycles keep on repeating once and again until the bladder has reached a strong degree of contraction, and after few seconds, when your bladder is almost empty, the reflex will fatigue and regenerative cycle will stop and micturition will cease. So once the reflex becomes powerful enough, this causes another reflex which passes through pudendal nerve to external sphincter to cause its inhibition, because there is one more voluntary external sphincter which has to be inhibited to facilitate flow of urine. So if this inhibition is more potent in brain than the voluntary contraction to the external sphincter, urination will occur. So this is very important, the inhibition of external sphincter. So if not, then urination will not occur until the bladder fills still further and micturition reflex become more powerful. So micturition reflex is a single complete cycle of progressive rapid rise of pressure, sustained pressure, and return of pressure to the basal tone of the bladder. So this completes the cycle. Progressive rapid increase, sustained pressure, and return to the subsequently at the end, return of pressure to the tone, basal tone. So once the micturition reflex has occurred but has not succeeded in emptying, the nervous element of this reflex usually remain in an inhibited state for few minutes to an hour. Like we can, if we are having sensation of passing urine, if we suppress it, we can wait till few minutes to an hour depending on the volume of bladder before the next micturition reflex will give us again signal to pass urine. As the bladder becomes more and more filled, so micturition reflex becomes more frequent and more powerful. So once you have voluntarily inhibited passing urine because of unavoidable circumstances or unavailability of proper place to pass urine, you can suppress it. But as time passes, again bladder will keep filling and micturition reflex will keep coming, and then subsequent there will be time, then we have very severe urgency to pass urine, and that time you will search for some place to pass urine immediately. So voluntary control of micturition is the basic cause of micturition, but the higher centers normally exert final control. So ultimately how much bladder is full, until unless in a normal neurologically sane and intact person we can withhold micturition at much as possible till we find a suitable desired place. So the higher centers, as I told, can prevent micturition. Even if the micturition reflex occur, they can cause tonic contraction of external sphincter until a convenient time presents itself to pass urine. So when it is time to urinate, the cortical center can facilitate the sacral micturition center to initiate a micturition reflex and at the same time inhibit the external sphincter so that urination can occur. So sacral micturition center and sacral detrusor center are two main important centers to facilitate urination. So micturition reflex is a autonomic spinal cord reflex, but it can be inhibited or facilitated by centers in the brain also. Sometimes you can voluntarily pass urine, you can initiate micturition. So these centers are mainly located in pons and cerebral cortex. So there are supraspinal control centers, as I told, pontine and suprapontine, like in cerebral cortex. So pontine center is also known as Barrington center, that you have read well already in your physiology. So which function of pontine micturition center is coordination of detrusor contraction and sphincter relaxation to relay impulses from suprapontine. The pontine will relay impulse and it will coordinate contraction of detrusor and relaxation of sphincter. Suprapontine center relay their influence on the sacral micturition center through the pontine mix. So suprapontine will relay to pontine, from pontine it will go to sacral micturition center. So cerebral cortex, basal ganglia and limbic system. So basal ganglia inhibits while limbic system excites sacral micturition center. So what is the role of perineal abdominal muscle? At the onset of micturition, levator ani and perineal muscles are relaxed, thereby shortening the posterior urethra and decreasing the resistance. So resistance will be decreased. Then the urogenital diaphragm descends and abdominal muscle contract, increasing the flow of urine by raising intra-abdominal pressure. So what are the abnormalities of micturition? Atonic bladder. Atonic bladder means this bladder doesn't have any tone. This is caused by destruction of sensory nerve fiber. In this, voluntary micturition is possible, but patient is unaware of state of distension because of sensory innervation has been damaged. So bladder distension sensation will be inhibited. Patient will be not aware his bladder will be 1 liter full, but he will not have any sensation. But voluntarily he can go and pass urine. So instead of emptying periodically, the bladder fills to a capacity. What happens if bladder is not patient is not aware, it doesn't void voluntarily, bladder will keep filling and then it will reach up to a level where it is already overfilled, and then it will start having overflow few drops at a time through the urethra, which is called as overflow incontinence. Means bladder is too full and now further increase in urine, then patient will keep passing urine drop by drop continuously without having any voluntary control. So it is called as overflow incontinence, and the bladder is described as automatic bladder. Automatically urine is coming. The common cause of atonic bladder is crush injury to sacral region of spinal cord, and certain diseases also can cause damage to dorsal root fibers like tabes dorsalis in syphilis. It is a tabetic bladder. The effect of denervation. So if there is a tumor or injury to cauda equina, there will be complete loss of voluntary micturition. Therefore patient cannot hold the urine at will. So there will be complete loss of voluntarily micturition he cannot have. So patient cannot hold urine at the will. Bladder is flaccid and distended for a while, called as isolated or decentralized bladder. Patient will have no sensation, he will be keep as soon as urine comes. If micturition reflex gets initiated, urine will automatically start flowing. He will not have any control voluntarily on that. So where it can happen, like syringomyelia, compression of spinal cord, transection of spinal cord, and disseminated sclerosis will have these kind of conditions. So other condition is spinal shock. So voluntary micturition is lost. So detrusor activity will be suspended for a long time after spinal shock, but sphincter activity will come earlier. So what happens? Detrusor activity will not be there, but sphincter activity returns soon. So bladder responds purely to passivity retention with urine like elastic bag. So detrusor activity is not there. So bladder response will be passive to distension with urine like elastic bag, will cause retention of urine. So there will be no detrusor contraction, will keep on filling like a bag, and sphincter activity will come, so sphincter will be contracted, so there will be retention of urine. And same thing happens again, it will be overstressed, overfilled, and then because of overfilled pressure the sphincter will be opened a bit, and then again it will overflow, which is overflow incontinence. Once spinal shock has passed, micturition reflex comes back, but due to the damage there is no voluntary control from inhibition of facilitation center. So micturition can be initiated from pinching or stroking of the thigh. So pinching or stroking of the thigh can initiate micturition because there is no voluntary control which has been lost because of damage. And then overstretching because of overflow, what happens? The mucosa will get aberrated, and then there will be infection, cystitis, the nutrition of the mucosa will hampered, then there will be continuous infection, repeated chronic infection which lead to hypertrophy of the bladder detrusor wall, and bladder will contract in size, and micturition reflex become hyperactive. Due to what happens, bladder contracts, there is hypertrophy, and then hyperactive due to denervation. Once denervation, you have already know about the concept of hypersensitization. So what happens? It becomes micturition becomes hyperreactive. It becomes hyperreactive. So bladder will contract irregularly with small amount of urine. So small amount of urine, irregular small amount of urine, micturition reflex become hyperactive. It will get initiated. Then patient will very frequently keep on passing small amount of urine. So it's better in these kind of cases catheterize the patient and wait for recovery. But this is all about urinary bladder anatomy, physiology and physiology of micturition. Read again, and this I have told you basic overview of this. Read again through your textbook, and then you will be able to understand it better. No need to go into unnecessary details of this. Try to understand the basic physiology of micturition, and then it will not have any issues with you. Then next class we will discuss tumors, urinary bladder tumors. Thank you.